The stunning revelations that top officials inside this White House have been actively working to undermine the president and shield the country from his, quote, reckless decisions. So here's our question. Who is really running the government? I have a great team here to help break all of it down. But first, I want to explain exactly what's going on. Everyone in Washington, and at this point across the country, is now trying to figure out who is behind this anonymous op-ed in the New York Times describing so-called resistance inside the Trump administration. The president is reportedly furious, calling the source gutless and a product of the deep state. But the author says they are not alone, citing a group of senior White House officials and Trump appointees working to, quote, frustrate parts of the president's agenda as well as his worst inclinations. Another source tells Axios there are dozens and dozens of like-minded officials. The op-ed writer says the administration has had successes on issues like deregulation and tax reform, but insists they have come despite the president's petty and ineffective leadership, not because of it. Quote, meetings with President Trump veer off topic and off the rails. He engages in repetitive rants, and his impulsiveness results in half-baked, ill-informed, and occasionally reckless decisions that have to be walked back. I could have probably told you that one. And it also says, quote, it may be cold comfort in this chaotic era, but Americans should know that there are adults in the room. We fully recognize what is happening, and we are trying to do what is right, even when Donald Trump won't. As you can imagine, President Trump, he didn't take this well.
So if the failing New York Times has an anonymous editorial, can you believe it? Anonymous, meaning gutless, a gutless editorial. We're doing a great job. The poll numbers are through the roof. Our poll numbers are great. And guess what? Nobody is going to come close to beating me in 2020.
Oh, boy. It is fascinating to see how closely the Times op-ed tracks with reporting from Bob Woodward's new book, which also includes accounts of White House officials acting on their own as opposed to following the president's orders. Former Trump opponents that may sound like great news, but it raises a lot of questions. If you like President Trump or not, he was elected by the American people. Whoever these unnamed officials are, they were not elected. And it is very troubling to believe that the president is acting in a way that could be making this country more dangerous. But it is just as troubling to have anonymous White House officials taking it upon themselves to basically run the government. We don't know who they are or what they're doing. That is not what the founding fathers intended. In fact, there is a provision for just this sort of occasion. The 25th Amendment, that's what I'm talking about. It allows for the removal of a president if he is incapacitated or unable to do his job. The author of the op-ed says the cabinet did not pursue that because they didn't want to cause a constitutional crisis. Newsflash. If what they are saying is true, we have already got one.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.